Okay. So we started yesterday. A new parak. The parak of Tav Nishchat speaks about the carbon tamid, how it was brought in Beis Hamikdash. The problem with carbon tamid is brought usually at a certain time, but since we have a carbon Pesach on Erev Pesach, so we have to change the schedule of the carbon tamid and make him an earlier time. We brought down a bunch of different opinions of exactly when to bring the carbon Pesach, when to bring the carbon tamid, and especially if it falls out on Erev Shabbos, because if it's on Erev Shabbos, then we have to even roast the carbon Pesach before Shabbos, so we need more time for the carbon Pesach. That we spoke on the last we'll start today. Like where should we start in a second? Masechta Rabbi. Let's start from Masechta Rabbi. It's 2 lines from the top. 3 lines on the top of Noches Amdal. I'm on the base. Says the thing about Masechta Rabbi. Rabbi asked the question like this. Let's minute please, just a second. Just find where to start. Just a second. Okay, let's start from non Pesach Madalif all the way at the bottom. Michael Mifligi. The second line from the bottom on Noches Madalif. So we had a machlekes between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel. What was the machlekes? Rabbi Akiva said that Rabbi Akiva said, let me just find the place again. Yeah, Rabbi Shmuel said that Kisidura B'chel B'erev Pesach. That's how they used to do it on Pesach. What does that mean? It means that it's not loading a second. Sorry, okay, yeah. So Rabbi Shmuel said, so we had a machlekes yesterday. Rabbi Shmuel said like this. Shmuel said that Kisidura B'chel Kach Sidrei B'Shabbos Pesach. Meaning, just like we bring the Korban Pesach, just like we bring the Korban Pesach on a weekday, on a regular weekday, which we brought it during the week, so too it's on Shabbos. Meaning that if it falls out on Shabbos, the Karm Talmud will be brought in the same time, which is 8.5 hours into the day. This is the opinion of Rishma. Rabbi Akiva says, no. Akiva says that we bring it Kesidure Be'erev Pesach. What does that mean? Rabbi Akiva says, like, we do it on Erev Pesach. Just like if Pesach falls out on a weekday, then we bring the carbon Pesach. If Pesach falls on a weekday, we bring it. If Pesach falls on a weekday, so too if it falls on Shabbos, we bring it at the same time. So then, what does the Mishnah mean to teach us? The Mishnah means to teach us that the time to bring the carbon Pesach is the same time during the week and during Shabbos. According to Rishmal, there's no difference between. According to Rabbi Akiva, there's no time. There's no. According to Rabbi Akiva, there's no difference between Shabbos and the weekday. But according to Rishmal, on if Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, we have to make the Korban Pesach earlier. So the Gemara finished up. What's the machlekes? So answer the Gemara b'michmar bisra kumifligi. They're arguing about regarding if the meat will become warm and then become bad. What does that mean? Rishmal says chashina lemichmar bisra. Rishmal holds that we're scared the meat will go bad. And what does that mean? Since the regular carbon tamid on a regular Shabbos is shechted earlier, and since it's shechted earlier, then the carbon Pesach always have to be shechted earlier. And if the carbon Pesach is shechted earlier, we can't roast the meat until Shabbos goes out. We can shecht carbon Pesach on Shabbos, so we can't roast the meat on Erev Shabbos. So since we're going to shecht the carbon Pesach earlier, we can't roast the meat until night. And then the meat is going to go bad. And therefore, we should postpone the Korban Pesach. If Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, we have to postpone the Korban Pesach and make it later, so it should be closer to the night, so we can roast it. Rabbi Akiva says no. Rabbi Akiva said we're not scared the meat will come bad, and therefore, just like on a regular Shabbos, we cut the Korban Tamid at the same time. So too, if Erev Pesach, or just like on a regular Erev Pesach, we cut the Korban Pesach right after Korban Tamid. So too, if it falls on Shabbos, we do not make the Korban Pesach early because we're not scared that the meat will go bad. So I think Mother has now top of the bit no chesed base. If we're not scared, if we're going to Ragiva, we're not scared the meat will go bad. Nev the b'sheish mechza. If we're going to Ragiva, we're not scared the meat will go bad. Why don't we bring the Korban Pesach and 6 and right after the Korban Tamid? Since there's so many Korban Pesachs to bring, we should do it as soon as possible. Why do we bring the 7.5 hour? We could do the 6.5 hour. Do it an hour earlier. The meat's not going to go bad. So if the meat's not going to go bad, why don't we do it earlier? Answers the Gemara. Kasabar Rabbi Akiva holds musafim kedin lebasichin. That the musafim come before the basichim. What does that mean? It means that you have on Shabbos they bring a korban musaf, and together we bring a korban musaf. After they would bring bazichin, they would bring spices. So Rabbi Akiva holds that the korban musaf has to be brought before the spices, and therefore, since you bring the spices, in the time you brought the spices in the Beis Hamikdash was at the 6th hour, and after that we had to bring the bazichin on the 7th hour. So in other words, the bazichin, the spices are stopping us from making the Korban Pesach. The Korban Pesach can only be the last Korban. So since we have to bring the Korban Pesach, since we have to bring the spices on the 7th hour, we cannot make the Korban Pesach any earlier because we can only go after the bazichin. And bazichin and the spices are only in the 7th hour. So if the spices are only in the 7th hour, then we have to bring that, and that's why we bring the Korban Pesach later on, even though ideally we could have brought before. Ask the Gemara, I'm asking for Rabbi Bar Ula. Rabbi Bar Ula asked in this explanation, Midi kasidre b'chel kasidre b'Shabbos b'erev Pesach dibri shmal ktani kach sidre b'Shabbos stamal ktani. What do we say in our explanation we had in Tona? The explanation we had in Tona was that according to Rabbi Shmuel, according to Rabbi Akiva, we don't change the Seder. Just like we make Korban Pesach during the week, so too we do it on Shabbos also. We don't make it any earlier. But according to we don't make any later or earlier. According to according to Rabbi Shmuel said that just like you're doing during the week, so too you do on Shabbos Erev Pesach. Meaning if Shabbos wasn't Erev Pesach, then we'll make the Korban Pesach as late as we'll make the Korban Pesach right after the Korban Tamid. So we're asking that opinion. It doesn't fit with the lashon of the Brisa. What do we say? We try to translate until now that Bishma wants to say just like you do during the weekday, so too you should do on Shabbos Erev Pesach. But it doesn't say in the Brisa that he's speaking about Erev Pesach. He doesn't say in the Brisa you should do the Korban Tamid in the weekday like Shabbos Erev Pesach. He just says like Shabbos Tam. Doesn't mention it Shabbos Erev Pesach. So why did he try to translate the Brisa that was speaking about Shabbos Erev Pesach? So my answer is Amar Rabbi Bar Ula. Rabbi Ula explains Hachikton. This is what it means to say. Kesidure b'chayil the alma. Kach sidure b'Shabbos the alma did b'Shmal. The Brisa means to say that we're not speaking about Korban Pesach b'chal. We're speaking about the rest of the days of the year. And this is what he's trying to say. Just like trying to say the same way Hamikdash was, just like on a regular day. A regular day during the week, you'll bring the Korban Pesach, the Korban Tamid at 6.5 hours. So on Shabbos, you bring the Korban Tamid that time also. Sorry, 8.5 hours. So to bring the Korban that time also, meaning he wants to say that there's no difference between the weekday and Shabbos, even though on Shabbos, we can see what the argument is soon, but even though on Shabbos might be different, Shmuel's teaching us has nothing to do with the din of Korban Pesach in general. To teach us in general din, that on Shabbos, the din of the Korban Tamid is exactly the same than during the week. That's Shmuel's opinion. Rabbi Akiva says, but Rabbi Akiva says no. Kesidre b'erev Pesach da alma. Kach sidre b'Shabbos da alma. According to Rabbi Akiva, when do you bring the Korban Tamid on Shabbos? On a regular Shabbos. So he says, just like on Erev Pesach, you bring the Korban Tamid earlier. So too, on a regular Shabbos, you should bring the Korban Tamid earlier. We'll see in a second why. Now Mishnah didn't make a distinction between Shabbos and the weekday, because according to everyone. So what does that mean? It means like this: that according to Rabbi Shmuel, we bring the on a regular Shabbos, we bring the carbon time at the same time during the week. Let's say during the week we bring it 6.5 hours. On Shabbos we also bring the carbon time that every carbon time we bring 6.5 hours. According to Rabbi Akiva, we just like on Erev Pesach, we bring the carbon time earlier. So too, on a regular Shabbos, we do like it's Erev Pesach, and we bring the carbon time earlier. We'll see in a second why. The what's the reason for the argument? So the Gemara explains the Dabris and the Darim can be fleeing. They're arguing about the if we should decree for Nadarim and Dabris. What does that mean? The Bishmal Sabak Gazin and Shabbos Atucha. Basically, it's a thing like this: carbon time has to be the last carbon. Since carbon time has to be the last carbon, so therefore, we're scared if someone's going to bring, let's say, a sheep for carbon taida or whatever it is. And if you're bringing the carbon time at the earliest time you're able to bring it, anyone who wants to bring a carbon is going to have to wait till the next day. So on a regular day, since there's other carbonates that have to be brought before, so we postpone the carbon time as late as possible according to Rishma. What about Shabbos? Shabbos, we don't bring any other carbonates besides the carbon time and carbon pesach, carbonates which are carbon tzibur, but a regular carbon isn't brought on Shabbos. So there's no shash that there's going to be a carbon, which is someone's going to want to bring a carbon after the carbon time because we won't bring it anyway. So on Shabbos, we should make the carbon time much earlier. The only reason why during the week we make it much later is because we want to give time for people to bring carbonates. But on Shabbos, there's no reason to wait for people to bring carbonates because we're not going to bring the carbonates anyway. So on Shabbos, we should make the carbon time much earlier. So Bishmal says, no, even though really we should make the carbon time earlier, we don't make a distinction between Shabbos and the weekday. And since we don't make a distinction between Shabbos and the weekday, just like on a regular day we bring carbon time at 8.5 hours, so too, on Shabbos we bring the carbon time at 8.5 hours, even though we could have brought it much earlier. But according to Rabbi Akiva says, no, like Azina, we don't compare the weekday to Shabbos. In the weekday, you have a specific reason to bring the carbon time much later, because we want people to bring carbonates before the carbon time. But on Shabbos, you don't need to do that. On Shabbos, you can bring the Talmud much earlier. And since we can bring the Talmud much earlier, so therefore, we could bring on Shabbos, they say the was they used to bring the Karban Talmud earlier, according to the Rabbi. Ask the Gemara, if there's no problem of bringing of Karbanis, why do we bring the Karban Talmud at 7.5 hours? Even according to the Rabbi, we only bring the Karban Talmud an hour earlier on Shabbos. Why don't we bring it 2 hours earlier? Bring it as early as possible. Eli Gazina, Nevde, and we should bring it 6.5 hours. We should bring it as early as possible, right after Chatzos. So our answer is like we answered before. Kasava Musafim Ketan Bazichin. The Kiva holds that before you bring the Karban Talmud, you have to bring the Bazichin. You have to bring the spices. And the Karban Musaf and the spices have to be after the Karban Musaf. So the Karban Musaf was in the 6th hour. The Bazichin were in the 7th hour. After bringing the Bazichin, the next carbon you bring is the Karban Talmud. So therefore, we brought the Karban Talmud at 7.5 hours, because that was the earliest time we could bring the Karban Talmud, because we couldn't bring it 6.5 hours. Because if we bring it 6.5 hours, then we have to bring the Bazichin and the Karban Musaf before. And that we can't do. So we bring the Karban Musaf at 6th hour, the Bazichin at 7th hour, and the 7.5 hour, we bring the Karban Talmud, which is still an hour earlier than the rest of the year, according to the Rabbi. The rest of the year we brought a Karban Talmud at 8.5 hours, but on a regular weekday. But on Shabbos, according to Rabbi, we brought the Karban Talmud an hour earlier. So I was going to ask on that opinion. Basically, ask a question. It says in the Brisa like this: Talmud, the Karban Talmud, the whole year round, it's brought in a regular way. What does that mean? It means nishchab d'shmei namechza. It means that you shach the Karban Talmud 8.5 hours into the day. The karev b'teishon mechza, and it takes time to bring the Karban Talmud even after you shacht it. So it's brought on mizbeach an hour after you shachted it, which is 9.5 hours. Over Erev Pesach, so that's on a regular weekday. Over Erev Pesach, if it's on Erev Pesach, when do you bring the Karban Talmud? If it's on Erev Pesach, you bring the Karban Talmud on. Second, my screen is. Can you see my screen? Yeah. So now Erev Pesach, you bring the Karban Tamid on, says the Brisa, you bring the Karban Tamid, Nishcha B'Sheva, Mechta, you shacht it in the 7.5 hour. So it says clearly in the Brisa that you bring the Karban Tamid an hour later on Erev Pesach. You shacht it an hour later, and you bring it on this Bech 8.5 hours. So on the weekday, on a regular weekday, you bring it you shacht it in 8.5 hours. On Erev Pesach, you make the Karban Tamid an hour earlier, which is 7.5 hours. Then the Brisa continues, which is what's going to get to us. Chol Dias b'Shabbos. If Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, Chol Dias b'Shein b'Shabbos. It's as if it falls out on a Monday. Divrei Rabbi Shmuel. What does that mean? It means that if Erev Pesach falls out on a Shabbos, so we do it like we do it on a Monday. Just like on a Monday, we bring the Karban Tamid at 8.5 hours. So too, if it falls on Shabbos, that's when we do it at the same time. Rabbi Kiva says no. Consider it about a Pesach. If it falls on Shabbos, if Erev Pesach fell out on Shabbos, then we do it like a regular Erev Pesach, which is 6.5 hours. Which means that so far we have machlekes between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva. According to Rabbi Shmuel, then just like on a regular weekday, we bring the Karban Pesach 8.5 hours into. We bring the Karban Tamid 8.5 hours into the day. So to according to Rabbi Kiva says, Rabbi Shmuel says on a regular on the Erev Pesach, if it falls on Shabbos, you bring it that same time as a weekday. According to Rabbi Kiva, he argues and says no. And if Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, we bring the Karban Pesach on 6.5 hours into the day. So it says like this: if you go according to Abaya, then the Brisa works well. Why? Because just like in the previous Brisa we explained, that according to Abaya, that during the week is brought in the same as Shabbos, so that works well. But if you go according to Rava, you have a question. According to Rava, we see over here, Rava says, Mishmal says that we're scared that the meat's going to go bad, and therefore, according to Mishmal, we bring the meat extra. We bring the Karban Pesach extra early on Shabbos. How can we say in our Brisa that on Shabbos is like the weekday? If we're scared the meat's going to go bad, if Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, we in last Brisa we said we bring the meat, we bring the Karban Pesach much earlier. So how does that fit with this Brisa that says we bring it on a regular week? We bring it at the same as a weekday. So answers the Gemara. Rabbi answers, what does it mean? It doesn't mean to say. Rabbi means the Brisa doesn't mean to say that if Pesach, Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, it's as if it fell out on a Monday. Doesn't mean that it fell on Monday. It means to say that if Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, we bring regular weekdays in our house into the day. Meaning, if Erev Pesach falls, if Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, we don't change what was going anything in the Beis Hamikdash, because we're scared. Really, we should. If Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, then we should have. Even though it's Shabbos, we can make it later. But we're scared that it's going to go bad, so make it earlier. Gemara asks on that. Meisvei Chol is Shabbos. If Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, Kesidrei Kol Hashana Kulam. And we do it like the rest of the year, meaning we do everything 8.5 hours long, 8.5 hours into the day. This is the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel. When Rabbi Shmuel says there's no difference between Shabbos and the weekday. Kiva said, and if Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, then we do it like the rest of the year on Erev Pesach. Again, after the car earlier, says on Shabbos there's no difference falling on Shabbos and a weekday during the year. We always bring the Karban Tamid 8.5 hours into the day. According to Rabbi Kiva says no. If it falls on if Erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, then we bring it like a regular Erev Pesach. When we bring an Erev Pesach, 7 hours we amak them the Karban Tamid an hour early. So this Brisa works according to Rabbi. According to Rabbi, which said before that according to Mishma we don't change, so that makes sense. According to Rabbi, that says that according to Rabbi Kiva, that according to Mishma, we make the Karban Pesach earlier on Shabbos. So we have a clear Brisa that says that according to Mishma we don't make it early. Rabbi wants you Lo yitema kesido kol hashana, ela kesido kol hashanim kula. Divrei Rabbi Yishmael. Kiva Ema kesidre erev Pesach shechaliyas be'erev Shabbos. What does that mean? I can tell you, don't read the brisa that according to Rabbi Yishmael that we do erev Pesach the same as the rest of the year. Doesn't mean to say that's the rest of the year. It means to say that we do the erev Pesach that falls on Shabbos the same as every year. What does it mean the same as every year? It means there's no difference between erev Pesach falls on Shabbos or erev Pesach falls out during the week. Whatever erev Pesach falls out, it's always going to be 7.5. The Karban Pesach will always be brought 7.5 hours into the day. But Rabbi Akiva says no. That the Karban Tamid goes according to that the Karban Tamid goes according to how it works on Shabbos. Meaning, if erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, so we do it like a regular Shabbos, not like erev Pesach. According to Rabbi Yishmael, we answer the contradiction that Rabbi Yishmael, even though Rabbi Yishmael didn't mean to say there's no distinction between erev Pesach and the rest of the year. He meant to say that if erev Pesach falls on Shabbos, we do it like a regular erev Pesach throughout the rest of the year. How do we know that we shouldn't bring any karbanos before the Karban Tamid Shachar? Because it says in the pasuk, and you should make on the mizbech ha'ila the oila. My Talmud. What does ha'ila mean? What does the oila mean? It means to say amarava ha'ila oila rishona. It means that the Karban Tamid should be ha'ila, the first one. The oila. The oila means the first one. How do we know that you shouldn't bring any karbanos after the Karban Tamid Shabbein Habayim? Talmud says in pasuk v'hekted you should put on the mizbeach the chalve, the fat of the karbanos. My Talmuda, where do we see from there that you have to bring the Karban Tamid the last? Rabbi says Allah shlamim lechaver tashlamim. It says you should put on the Karban Tamid, you should put the fats, which means that no other carbon should be there when the fats go on. So Karban Tamid has to be the last carbon, and then you put on top of that the fats. Rabbi asks, it says that you could put that the carbon. It says that the Karban Tamid. It says that you can make shlamim after the Karban Tamid, but maybe you could do other karbanos. Yeah, we said just now. The shlamim have to go onto the Karban Tamid. So that's regarding that you shouldn't shacht any Karban shlamim after Karban Tamid. Maybe you could put a Karban oil on there. Elam Rav says hashlamim. Allah hashlim kol hakaban. Hashlamim says with extra hey, which is to teach us that it should be the last thing. The shlamim should be the last thing, and therefore, since the shlamim should be the last thing, the shlamim have to be with the Karban Tamid. Since the shlamim have to be with the Karban Tamid, then you cannot bring a Karban oil after that either. Okay, we'll stop over here at the bottom of Nuchesmet base. Today was a bit hard on, but tomorrow it gets a bit easier. Have a good night.